to some kettlebell strength exercises. And today the theme is if you have a kettlebell at home or you've got kettlebells at your gym, these are some of the classic kettlebell moves today. I think everyone should ideally know if they want to work with kettlebells and really utilize some of the unique features of the weight. And I do have some props today with me, so if you do want to press pause and grab these props to help you out today, especially if it's one of your first few times getting into kettlebells, I definitely recommend some of these props. And if you're familiar, they can be fun to play with too. So we have two things here. Well, the third, of course, is our kettlebell, but I've got a shoe. Use a slipper. If you have yoga blocks, a yoga block will also work, but everybody's got at least one shoe at home. And we're also going to bring back our towel. If you took our flow class earlier this week, we're going to utilize that towel again to get into our swings, and then of course our kettlebell. So let's start warming up our spine. Hands and knees, quadruped position. Let's get those hands right underneath the shoulder, the palm, and the knees right under the hips. Let's take a nice big inhale. You're gonna tuck your chin, tuck your butt, and big stretch between every single little rib and vertebrae. And now let's exhale. Bring that spine down. Look up, squeeze the shoulders together, drop them low, and stretch the belly down towards the floor. Let's inhale into another cat, big stretch, and exhale. Inhale into the cat. We're gonna do two more. One more, last one. We're just waking up those spines, getting us nice and mobilized. Motion is lotion. Dig in your toes and let's push up and back, raising the hips into our downward dog. We can walk out those heels and push the chest to the knees. We're going to take one leg up into our three-legged dog. You want to keep the hips straight, toes pointed straight at the ground. And then we're going to bring that leg forward, and you can use your hand to bring the foot in between the hands at the top of the mat. Nice straight hips. Let's open up the same side. Big stretch. Breathe in and exhale. Bring it down. You're going to touch your elbows together. We're going to do four more. Inhale, reach. And exhale, elbows touch. And 3, 4, one more for our 5. And then bring that hand down to the mat. Let's push up and back. And if this is difficult, you can also keep your knee down. We're going to stretch out that hamstring, going back and forward for 5 of these stretches. 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then send it back into your downward dog. Let's go through the other side, three-legged dog, into our low lunge. You can use the hand. We're going to open up, big stretch for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hands down. You can put the knee down or rock back with hips up for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Send it back into that downward dog. Let's walk those hands back to the feet, and we're gonna roll it up, stacking hips, rib cage, and head. Big stretch, and swan dive down. Walk those hands out, and walk those hands back in. Roll up, inhale, and dive. Crawl it out, and crawl it in. We're gonna do 2 more. Stretch and dive. And then last one. Dive. Crawl it out. And crawl it in. Okay. So we're nice and limber. Let's bring in our kettlebell. So first thing we're going to talk about before we even get into it is 2 ways that we'll be holding our kettlebell. And this is pretty much when we're doing any kettlebell work. So we can hold it by both hands, right? Double hand, and grabbing it by the horns. Now the horns are the piece on the side here. This is the handle up on top. So grabbing it by the horns means to grab it by the sides there of that loop, the handle loop, but technically the handle is just up here. And then the other way we're going to be holding it today is by sticking your whole hand, fingers of the hand, thumb on the other side through our kettlebell, and the kettlebell will kind of be sideways so that it rests. It's really kind of hooked on my thumb. My wrist is straight, not bent. We don't want to see this here. Nice and straight. We're going to avoid putting pressure on those little tendons in our wrist. Keep it nice and straight. This is our front rack position or overhead rack position. We're going to be practicing both of these positions today. So we have by the horns, and we have slip it through, let it rest on the wrist, which in the beginning might be a little uncomfortable, and that's going to be our rack position. So first thing we're going to do is take it down to the floor on our back, and we're going to hold it by the horns. So I'm going to grab my 2 horns, and I'm going to be on my back holding my kettlebell up over my shoulders here, and you can start with your knees tucked, and then we want to drop those knees out just until you feel your core start to activate, and then use your ab muscles to push. Instead of being here arched, I'm gonna push my core flat down to the mat. Don't do that. So now, holding our kettlebell, we're gonna extend. You can start with a bent leg and hover the bent leg, and we're gonna hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bring the legs back together, switch and hover, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna do 4 more. If you wanna work to extending the leg to make it harder, 3, 2, 1, and 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's do 2 more, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 more, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. So that's our dead bug, just getting our core turned on, a little core set. Now, let's get that kettlebell into our rack position. And we're gonna stay on the floor. You can extend the legs out. And I can use both hands here to help push that kettlebell up. So now I have it in a rack position, pressing it up towards the ceiling. I want to make sure I'm letting my shoulder sit back to the floor, core is tight, and I'm gonna bring on the same side, I've got the kettlebell in my right hand, so I'm gonna put my right foot up, bending that leg. This other free hand, you can put it out on the floor next to you, about 45 degrees. So what we're gonna do, brace that core, kind of tuck your pelvis, get that back pressed into the mat. You're going to keep that shoulder set back just a little bit. Don't let it roll forward in front of you. Keep your shoulder behind your ear. And we're going to engage that core. You can press through the heel a little bit, and we're gonna roll over. And I wanna see that shoulder and feel that shoulder slide back. And then slowly roll back to where we started. This is our kettlebell arm bar, and this is a great warm-up exercise for our shoulders, but it's also the start of our Turkish get-up. So I'll show from the other side, and we'll go for 5 on each side together. So I've got it racked up. I'm gonna switch my leg and make sure my kettlebell is pushing my shoulder flat to the floor. I wanna feel the floor under my shoulder. Tuck my core, engage, and I'm gonna roll over. And notice how my shoulder is back. It's not rolled in front here. Got a lot of space right in that front of the chest. And then nice and slow, roll back without losing your core. So that's 1 and 2. Shoulder slides back. I'm gonna keep my eyes on the kettlebell. Breathe even as I roll. It's a good idea when we have a weight over our face to keep our eyes on it. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more. I'm gonna bring that kettlebell down. To switch my kettlebell sides, I'm gonna roll myself with my kettlebell over for safety. I'm not gonna try to like pick it up and move it over. I'm gonna hold it close and roll over with it. Let's rack it up on the other side. You can switch that leg as well. Tuck and engage through the core. And we're gonna push, rolling over, looking at that kettlebell. And 2. And 3. 4. And 1 more. Perfect. Let's bring that kettlebell down. And now we're gonna start to take that arm bar motion and build on it. And if it's not your first time and you wanna go with a kettlebell, you can go with a kettlebell. We're gonna start just going through the movements of our get up with body weight. Skip this guy to the side. So let's have an imaginary kettlebell. You can start with the same side. And we're going to, here's my imaginary kettlebell. Load it up, you can make a fist, you can spread your fingers. So let's start with that arm bar, or I'll switch sides. I think it's better to see. So we're gonna start with that same arm bar. I want you to roll over and your shoulder rolls back. So now once I've rolled over, what you're gonna notice is, right, your weight is a little more on this arm on the ground. So I'm gonna push into the ground and push myself up. It's like, kind of like you're getting up in bed, right? Up onto the elbow, I'm about to get up, and I'm gonna use my core here, little sit up, and sit tall and bring that hand nice and close to my hip. This foot here is going to be planted firmly on the ground because now I'm gonna push through that foot and push through my hand and raise up my hips. Boom. What this does is this is gonna give me somewhere to put this long leg. I'm gonna pull it underneath my body. So now I have one knee on the ground, one hand on the ground, one foot on the ground. I'm gonna push myself off the ground using my hand and sit tall. And now I'm in half kneeling position. From here, it's fairly easy to get up. we're just going to stand up. Boom. The trick, if you find you're having a hard time getting from here to here, is you might be keeping too much of your weight in your back foot. So try shifting your weight forward and getting more weight into your front foot and using that leg to push up almost like a lunge, right? Where it is, but think about a lunge rather than the back foot. When we step back, reverse lunge, back to our half kneeling. Take the hand down to the floor, lifting up my hips. I'm gonna take that leg all the way through, the knee on the ground, sit my hips down, and from here, controlling with my abs, sliding that hand out, I'm gonna roll to the floor where I'm in my starting position. Pretty confusing for first time because there's so much going on, right? So let's try it again on the same side. Got my imaginary kettlebell. I'm gonna start with my arm bar and roll over onto that elbow. Push myself up into a seated position. Lift my hips up, almost like a glute bridge. Take that leg underneath, placing my knee. I'm gonna push up, half kneeling, slide that weight forward, up into standing. Okay, take that big step back, down to the ground, over to the side. I got my hand on the ground. I'm gonna lift up my hips, take that knee on the floor and kick it forward, dropping my hips, sliding, little slow reverse crunch to the ground, rolling back to the start. Let's try it on the other side. Our imaginary kettlebell. We'll get our shoe involved pretty soon here. So I'm gonna start with that arm bar, core is engaged. Roll to the side, push off your elbow. Up into your tall seated position. Glute bridge nice and high, gives you lots of room to slide that knee underneath. From there, half kneeling position, lunge forward and step. Big step back. Take your hand down to the ground. We're gonna lift up the hips, take the foot through, drop the butt down, tall seated, and slowly slide ourselves out to our elbow. Return to position one. Let's do one more time on this side and then we'll get our shoe. Tuck the core and engage. Roll to the side, to the elbow. Slide that hand in as we do a nice controlled sit up. Raise up those hips. Bring the knee underneath. Push off the hand into half kneeling. Slide the weight forward and lunge. Take it back for a reverse. Hand to the ground. Lift the hips. Kick that leg underneath to drop your butt to the floor. Slide the hands out. Slow reverse crunch. Back to our starting position. So, there's quite a lot going on, which can certainly make this, seem a little daunting, but I promise if you break down the parts and practice arm bar and use the shoe, it's gonna make it a lot easier when you start using the weight, especially the shoe trick, because this will definitely teach you how to balance the weight, which when we have even just a little bit of weight on that Turkish get-up, if it starts to wobble, it can really fall easy, because it's hard to hold the weight like that. So keeping a good balanced shoulder, a balanced kettlebell, or a balanced shoe is an important part of that equation. So let's get our shoe. And I'm going to make a fist and balance that shoe on top of my fist. Not holding my shoe, I'm not squeezing my shoe. It is just resting on my knuckles, no thumbs. If you want to make it harder or easier, depending on how much success you have here. Certainly you want to be able to have some success. So another key with our get up, shoe get up or kettlebell get up, is I'm going to keep my eyes on my shoe until I stand up. So whenever I'm on the ground here, my eyes, they're on my shoe, they're on my kettlebell. That way I can see what's happening. Let's start with that arm bar, balancing the shoe. We're gonna roll over. Keep your eyes on the shoe. Press off your elbow, and let's do our sit-up. Eyes on the shoe. Lift our hips up into a glute bridge. We're gonna bring that knee underneath. Come up into our half kneeling position. And this is where my eyes are gonna be forward, lunge forward, and up. Same on the reverse, eyes forward as I step back. But now as I go down to touch my hand down, I'm gonna bring my eye up to look at my shoe again. I'm locked on now. I'm gonna kick my leg underneath, go into my sitting position, and then my reverse crunch, sliding down to the floor and rolling over. Excellent. So if you drop the shoe, that's fine. I just want to introduce a great way to practice this without worrying about throwing your kettlebell around, especially if you're doing this inside, upstairs, you're in an apartment. And if you practice with a shoe and balance that shoe well, your get-ups are gonna look really pretty, I promise. Okay, I'm switching over to my other fist. I'm tucking my core nice and tight, and I'm gonna lock down, eyes on my shoe, roll over into that arm bar, up onto the elbow, into my tall seated position, locked on the shoe. Lift up the hips, bring that knee underneath, and this is where I can take my eyes off my shoe, lunge forward, and step up. Big step back, down to the ground. I'm gonna bring my hand down and eyes up. Kick that leg through, lower those hips down, and let's do our reverse crunch. Down to our elbow, back to our starting position. Most excellent. So you wanna keep going on with our get up with the shoe. Go ahead, keep doing the get up with the shoe. We're gonna do with our kettlebell if you're ready to take it up to the kettlebell. So just like our arm bar, we're gonna front wrap it. And just like our shoe, we're going to keep our eyes on it. Take that kettlebell, front rack. Here's another way I like to get into it if I'm gonna be on the floor, is I get it in my front rack while I'm sitting here, and then when I come back down, I don't have to do any awkward work. It's already in that position, and I can use both hands to push it up and get into my first position. So remember, eyes on the bell. That's gonna be the easiest way to control what's going on, is to make sure you know where your bell is. Let's roll over. Up onto our elbow and hand. Got my eyes locked on. I'm gonna lift up into my bridge, slide that knee underneath, up into half kneeling position, shift forward and up. Take that big step back, down to the ground, over to the side, get ready to kick it through, and lower that hip down. From there, slide out to the elbow, all the way down to the ground, back to our starting position, and then I'm gonna bring it close to the chest to switch sides. I'm gonna roll over with my bell. How easy is that? Use both hands, kettlebell up, switch sides. Make sure you're starting with your shoulder on the floor, eyes on that bell. Let's roll over, arm bar to elbow, up into a tall sitting, and lift those hips. Bring the kettlebell underneath your knee. I called it kettlebell. And up into half kneeling. Eyes are forward. Shift your weight forward and take it to standing. Reverse it down. Big step back, down to the floor. Hips over as we lower our hand. And we're gonna kick that leg through. Dropping down our hips, top seated position. Slide it out to your elbow. Back to starting position. Bring that kettlebell down safely. And you can put it to the side. All right, so whether you tried this time with a kettlebell or you tried it with a shoe, keep going with get-ups. They are a great exercise. They work your body in so many different ways. Your core, your legs, your mobility, your shoulder mobility, strength and stability. So they are great, and don't feel like you have to go super heavy on them. Work your way up slowly, but I promise these are a very rewarding exercise. So let's take it to the next classic, something that I love, which is windmills. And windmills are actually gonna play off of one piece of our Turkish get-up. So you can use these as a way to practice your get-ups, and they focus on a piece that is very difficult in the get-ups, rather the first version. So before we do a full windmill, we're gonna do a half kneeling windmill. Now, if you're someone that needs a little extra padding on the floor, this is probably where you're going to want it. We're gonna have one knee down in our half kneeling position. Boom. And one knee forward. It's the half kneel. Make sure that we don't hike our hips. Hips are nice and straight, and we wanna be very engaged in terms of our core. So that means not having a back that looks like this, but having your hips tucked underneath. Perfect. We're gonna have that kettlebell. You can start front rack position if you wanna use both hands again to press it up overhead. That's a great start. So like my Turkish get-up and like my arm bar, the side that I have my kettlebell on is the side that my leg is forward. And for my half kneeling windmill, all I'm gonna do is that one part of the get-up where I reach down to touch the floor and press up to standing. You can also practice shifting your eyes as you come down, looking up to the kettlebell, and up, looking forward. So we're gonna do 5 on each side. 2 more. Hips are going sideways. And you notice how my core, I'm not bending, right? I'm sliding and my core is staying nice and straight. There's no bend in my spine. Bring that kettlebell down. When we switch sides, we're gonna switch knees. And what I want you to get out of this, just quick 5 reps on each side of our windmill. So I want you to feel how the hips slide. If you want, and you go next to a wall, you would maybe want to put a fist or 2 fists between you and the wall and practice sliding over and hitting the wall with your hip, boom, each time, touching the wall with your hip. This side. Nope, this side. So, take it back down to half kneeling position. If you want to use the wall, use the wall. Press up overhead, okay? And then slide those hips to the side. Look up to the kettlebell. We're gonna do 5 on this side. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. Okay, kettlebell down. And we're gonna move to the next step. And if you do feel like we're moving fast through these steps, I do have a series, Kettlebell Deep Dive, in the library, in the class library for members, that if you wanna really get into these moves, we explain them in depth. Or I explain them, but we talk about them in depth thoroughly. So if you feel like today is like not enough, or you watch it a couple times, that is a great class we've really got a lot of good content as far as like the education on all of these moves, very nitty gritty. So our standing windmill, and again, if you want to use the wall, I like using the wall for windmills because they really let you feel if you're sliding your hips to the side or just bending your knees, doing something else. With our windmills, feet are going to be shoulder width apart, go a little bit wider. And if I'm going to be sliding my hips to the left, I want to make sure I'm turning out my right foot just slightly, and I can bend that knee a little bit. And what this will look like, let's do with our kettlebell. We're going to start with a bottom loaded windmill. So hips are going to move the same as our half kneeling, but we're standing and we're holding our weight on the bottom rather than overhead on the top. I want to see how my palm is in. I'm going to turn my palm out. So I'm showing you this palm. Shift my weight over this leg. I'm going to keep this leg nice and straight. This leg, where my kettlebell is on, that side, can be bendy. And I want to slide my hips to the side. I'm going to let my kettlebell pull me down. You can go as low as you're comfortable and as long as you can keep your spine straight. You're going to feel some stretch in your back here, and maybe even in your hamstrings here. So here I am, the kettlebell's all the way down, and nice tight core, back to standing. And that is my bottom loaded windmill. So let's do 5 on each side. Use your wall if you'd like to. Come on down. This knee here, soft. See how it's bent? This leg straight. And up. 3. And 4. Last one, 5. I'm gonna switch my kettlebell over, and with that, switch the turn of my feet. Palm open outwards, showing you my palm. Shift my weight over to my straight leg, and I'm gonna send those hips back, let the kettlebell pull me down into the stretch. And 2, nice straight spine. 3. And 4. 1 more. 5. Okay. So now that is our bottom loaded windmill on each side. Now if you would like to try again, bringing back our shoe. If you would like to try this top loaded windmill with the shoe, go for it. I totally understand being nervous about moving in these types of ways while having a kettlebell overhead, especially if you're not somewhere that is facilitating, loud movement and dropping of weight. Like this room, I can't really drop my weight, so I would totally get it. Or if you're in a gym that doesn't let you drop weight, so shoe, great option. Let's load it up on our knuckles. Oops. And not drop it on our head. So I've got it up on top of my knuckles. Make sure you have your stance. And now this is gonna act like my kettlebell side. So I want to shift my weight over onto that straight leg. And you notice it's a straight line from the shoe or the kettlebell all the way down to my foot. Soften that leg. And now this time, you can still pretend you're holding that kettlebell that's pulling you down, but just like your get up, eyes on the kettlebell, and back up to standing. Keep the spine straight. See if we can get through 5 with our shoe. And 4. And remember, just go as low as you feel comfortable. and then let's switch sides. Get your wider stance, turn that leg out. Down's our shoe. Weight is shifted underneath the shoe, and imagine a kettlebell pulling us down to the ground, and up, and 2, and 3, 2 more, and 1 more. Excellent. So if you used that shoe and you had good success, let's give the kettlebell a try. And we'll just do our 5 and 5 again. And then we'll move on. We'll cover our swings for a little blast at the end. So let's get our kettlebells. Front rack, if you want to use both hands to help it up overhead. Wider stance. Shift your weight onto the foot underneath the kettlebell. Nice and soft. Opposite leg. And now, just like the shoe, you're going to keep your eye on it. You can imagine the other kettlebell still pulling you down. And we did it. And we're going to do 2. And 3. 2 more. And 1 more. Kettlebell down. Let's switch sides. Shift my weight underneath my kettlebell. Soft outer leg. Imaginary kettlebell pulling me down. Keeping my eyes on the kettlebell overhead. And 2. And 3. And 4. And last one. Bring that kettlebell down. Woo. Okay, let's grab the towel. Mine over here. So hopefully, if that was your first windmill day, you got one in there. I would not expect you to get a perfect windmill on your first day, but definitely something I would add to warm-up routine. Just a little something to do on days where you don't feel like doing too much. It's a great thing to keep your body tuned up in these little ways so you don't think about all those different types of movement. Okay. Every time I look over at Tater Tot over there, he's got like a new nap expression on his face. It's very cute. So we've got swings, and then we're gonna superset them with some halos today, just to get a little extra. And I think halos are a great kind of kettlebell-centric move. They do work with dumbbells, absolutely, but I just feel like kettlebells are made for them more. So for our halos, we're gonna go back to that grabbing it by the horns, but this time we're holding them upside down. I'm gonna cover the halos first, even though we're doing them second, because once we get into the swing, I just wanna do our swings, our swing thing. So by the horns, upside down. You're gonna take it to one ear, like you're answering the phone, and then behind your head, elbows in tight. To the other side, answer the other phone, and in front. Now reverse direction, you're gonna go around the other way. To the ear, behind, to the ear, in front. And that is a halo. It's the kettlebell traveling around your head in a circle like a halo. Super simple, classic kettlebell move, great for the shoulders, triceps. Just make sure that when we're doing them, when you're going back here, we're not extending and moving our back or using our neck. That's nice and tight, and all of the work is coming from the shoulders. This is excuse me, will not be a part of the movement. Core engage. So I'll demonstrate with my light kettlebell how we can use a towel to master our kettlebell swings. And if you were in class on Tuesday, you've already learned the secret, but we're gonna take our towel and we're gonna loop it through the handle of our kettlebell. And from there, we can pick it up and right with the towel on the handle, makes the kettlebell really quite swingy, right? And what we're gonna do is holding onto our towel, place our hands onto our hips, and you wanna have pretty close together feet. We're not gonna go wide for kettlebell swing, just close enough, but not so close that you're gonna hit your knees. And from there, you're going in soft knees, stick your butt back, and then bring your butt forward forcefully. And you might even notice just a little one like that, boom, and then boom. See how my kettlebell starts to move? So now let's use that momentum when we come back into another swing. But back, forward, build momentum with your kettlebell and see how high you can get it. Keep your hands on your hips. Now you've got the swing. Okay, so let's do together. Keep swinging. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can let that kettlebell come to a stop. Let's go into our halo, and then we will discard our towel. We're just gonna use them for the first round, but now we're gonna start using our arms now that we get how to move our hips, right? Makes it pretty easy to feel it. Now we're gonna do 8 halos. Around, keep the core tight. I need to look at my back, right? Nice and straight. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 more for 8. Kettlebell down to the ground. Let's take a rest. And we're gonna do 3 more rounds of our swings and halos. See, now he's totally tucked in. He's got his nose tucked in, his face tucked in, and it's really cute. Who told you you could be this cute? So, let's come back to our kettlebell for our swings. And we went over some starting position on Tuesday, and if you want to really get into that, watch Tuesday's class. But for simplicity's sake today, we're just going to hold by the handle, and we're going to start our swings from up high. This time, I just want you to imagine your arms are the towel. Keep your shoulders nice and tight, don't let them roll forward. But your arms, you're not going to do any curling or lifting, they're just going to be loosey. Same foot position, about hip width apart with some space for the kettlebell. And now let's go back with the hips and forward. Build your momentum. And now that we've got some good momentum going, we can get that kettlebell going. We're gonna do our 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we'll bring it up, upside down by the horns, and go around for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2, and 1. Kettlebell down. We're gonna take a rest. We'll do another 2 sets with our swing and our halo. How are we doing on the live stream today? Looking good. So if you're finding actually that swings are still not clicking and you've been using the towel trick, but you're still using your lightest kettlebell, try using something a little heavier than you might think. Certainly with swings, there's just a certain feeling that you don't get with a really light weight. The towel really helps emphasize it, but without it, without that extra weight, you can easily lift it with your arms. Doesn't let you feel it in your hips as much. So if towel trick still isn't working for you, try a heavier weight with the towel trick. But I would be surprised. I think towel trick does make it more natural feeling. So let's get our swing, grab it by that handle. We'll get our momentum going, and then we'll get our 10 swings in. Butt back, towel arms. Get that momentum, snap those hips nice and straight. Just use your butt, just like you did with your towel. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And now up into upside down by the horns. And we're gonna go around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 more, 7, and 8. Kettlebell down to the ground. Take a little rest. We're gonna do one last set of swings and halos. And I'll send you about your lovely day. I hope you enjoyed September's classes. We'll have more classes in October. But yeah, I was glad that you people to sign up, and we're gonna be able to donate money. I'm gonna wait until the end of the month so we can still have some sales on the class recordings. So if anybody still has any friends or family that you think might enjoy taking these classes or learning a little bit about kettlebells, you can still send it to them through the end of the month. They can watch the recordings, and we can get some more donations for the National Warriors Guild. So let's take our kettlebell. Last set. We're gonna get those momentum swings in, and then our 10 real swings. Shoulders nice and packed tight. No slouching shoulders, okay? Hips back, towel-y arms. Get that momentum. There we go. And let's do our 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Weight down and upside down. Last 8 halos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Last one, 8. You can bring your kettlebells down. Thank you for taking class today. Let's do a little cool down. Let's let those arms relax. You're gonna let them bend at the elbow and just start to twist. Let the arms bend at the elbow. Gently slap the body side to side. While we take a nice deep breath and just release all that shoulder work that has been all over the place. It wasn't just pressing. We were using our shoulders in all directions today. Bring it to a rest into the middle. Let's take our arms out to the side. You're gonna go one palm up, one palm down. Reach towards your open palm. I'm gonna go a little wider with my stance. Reach towards that open palm. Then switch the hands and reach towards the other open palm. And we're gonna look through. Switch and reach. And flip the hands and reach. One more each side. Flip and reach. And flip and reach. You can bring one arm up across the chest and pull your elbow up on the other side. Shoulder low. And we're gonna reach across with the arm here and pull it in at the same time. So we're reaching and pulling. It's not just a straight pull. We wanna make sure we're reaching across as we do so. Release the arm, circle up and around and grab that elbow. Nice straight back. You're gonna pull your elbow up while you pull it in. Neck nice and straight. Release the arm. We're gonna do the other side. Shoulder low, reaching across. And release, swing around. Catch the elbow and stretch. Okay, and let it shake out your fingers. Thank you again for joining class today. Hitter just gave you a big stretch. She says thank you too. And I appreciate you all. Thank you for doing something nice for yourself. Practicing some self-care today, a little act of self-love. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And I will see you next classes in October, unless I see you on the replays.